Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi Achint. After a long time, I have on the platform Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha. Sir, Namaskar. Welcome to the show.
Namaskar, Adiji. Namaskar to your viewers, and thank you for getting me again. It's always a pleasure being on your show and diving deep into not only maritime matters but the entire geopolitics, firstly of the Indo-Pacific region and then in the world, what is happening. And there is a lot happening, as you mentioned earlier in my
Sir,
private conversation, that things are happening too quickly. You're right;
Ji,
it's
ji.
happening too quickly. But all I would say that the government of India is very much clutched into all these developments, and they're not making any uh, statements which is going to make situation worse.
Sir. Sir, India China, let's start with. ये बड़ा interesting सा mode आया है between both the countries when we see कि China इस time पे at the moment is wanting to give some accommodations कि यार कोई बात नहीं आप आपके साथ हम separate बात कर लेते हैं. And one such example came out about rare earths. We know there is a challenge. Now China is saying कि भाई you we'll give you whatever you want. Just give us an assurance you don't sell it to the US. Now that is a very interesting deal as per se जो Trump साहब बोलते हैं ना deal. It's a very interesting deal. How do you see this? I'm not talking about rare earth in particular, but it's very important as a sector. But how do you see this little bit of an accommodation that China is trying to give India? क्या इसके पीछे motive क्या होगा sir?
Good question, not easy to answer, but let me put my 2 rupee bit, if I may say so. The Chinese have done an assessment that the manner in which in Trump administration the India-US relations have nosedived uh, as the world sees it. And so does India see in that manner. It was a 25 year of hard work and from both sides. Uh, as you would have seen that the lawmakers have written a letter, some of them, some 21 of them, to the President of the United States saying that you have to rebuild India as an important partner in the Indo-Pacific and it's going to be world's third largest economy. And therefore, you please revisit your actions that you are taking against India. As a result of that, as well as you know, the tariff on drugs on the pharmaceutical has been held in abeyance now because that will likely to impact the population. A large number of people in the US who use medicines, particularly of blood pressure, diabetes, and Indian drugs are by and large still the cheapest. In spite of the existing tariff, you go to any CVS pharmacy, you will find that made in India drugs are still cheaper than anywhere else. So, coming back to this, the day President Trump had announced that there will be 50% tariff later on, which became 100% on India because they import oil from Russia and that they must stop. And Secretary Ludwig made some very loose statements, and the gentleman in the White House, who's his trade advisor, he also made some very silly comments.
Mm,
Now the Chinese have done an assessment that this broken relation between these two countries is going to take a very very long time to rebuild because the prime minister is very firm about all this. Though attempts are there to sort of not let it decline any further from the time the drug tariff has been sort of held in abeyance. As you know, yesterday Prime Minister Modi spoke to President Trump and he congratulated him for a very good agreement to stop the war between Israel and Hamas, and he appreciated his move. So that is one thing that can be quoted that there is an attempt in the direction that he don't decline any further.
mm,
The fact that Prime Minister Modi rang up President Trump, it puts a little bit of placating on him. At that time, the Chinese had decided and declared that we will remove all tariff on Indian drugs, manufactured drugs into China, and we will give them rare earths, including the magnets, as we progress on talks on trade. Because the tariff had just been announced, and China thought that it is just the right time to offer it immediately. We can work out the mechanics, and that's one way that India, China, at least the trade ties can be reset. And as you know, that the Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping had met in Tianjin and during the SCO summit, and decision had been taken that the flights will start and we will start the trade talks. And Prime Minister Modi made a statement when he came back that there have been uh, some understanding with China on as far as trade and travel is concerned. So we'll see where it goes. So I am not surprised. It is just that the Chinese want another assurance that nothing goes out of US, and that I we can one can understand their worry, because what they are going to give to India, including the magnets, they're not available with the Americans. America still depends on those things from import, and that is why they have done a sprint towards Pakistan. And one of the reasons why Balochistan mines are being looked at by the Americans very closely. So I would say that this is a good development. India has never given any technology to anybody else, no matter where they import from. India has got a very non-proliferation, shall I say, approach to these things. As you know, that we have had far too many Russian sort of weapon systems and equipment, and we knew about a lot of their technology. Though there has been no technology transfer, but over a period of time, we have gathered enough expertise to split it because we have been using it for so long. So India will respond. They will respond that yes, you please see my non-proliferation example in history. We don't do that for any country, and therefore there's no question of me doing this for China. They will give that assurance for sure. So I think it's a good development, Adiji, because I think I had co-authored two articles which also came out in Global Times long back, where we had said that the moment some thaw starts, or some thaw had already started, when the post Galwan, some talks had taken place and troops were being sort of readjusted on the border. We had said that the people to people relationship should first be repaired. Get them visa, start the flights, start the tourism to you know both the temples, tourism to our tourist places, and that will create a little positive narrative in China and also in India. Because unfortunately in India the narrative against China has become quite bad, the public narrative, because after the Galwan. So to improve all that, we thought the two authors thought that this is important, and we should start doing that. Now it has taken a long time, almost 7 8 months, but now that has happened. The tourist visas are being issued, already done, and now the flights are going to start by probably middle of this month or end of this month. So that final thing is being sorted out as to who will run how many flights, because this is on reciprocity basis, as you know. But China has larger number of tourists coming. We have lesser number of tourists going. Students are there in any case, so some more students will go. So I think that all in all, this is a very good beginning. If you start from the top end of business, which is the export from China on rare earth material, then rest of the items are of shall I say, lesser strategic value. They are more to do with economy, whereas the one they are talking about, it has got a strategic value. It
Mm,
will help us in our the semiconductor drive that we are going at. It's a year of the semiconductor as per the Prime Minister. And large number of companies are now indulging in making, including the Taiwan State Corporation, TSC, TSMC. So I think it's a good development. Okay, don't give up the border issue. That talk is going on. There are in five sections, and each area will be looked at a different lot of people. I would say that is a very good, shall I say, even if it is a tactical move or if it is a partly strategic move, geopolitics calls for resetting of ties with China, not only for the reason of what we just talked about, but also the without trade between these two countries, there's 2.8 billion people existing here. The world economy is not going to move fast. We are the engines of world economy. Let's not forget it. The world economy moves because of the Chinese and India's trade. And that is one reason why President Trump has realized and he's holding on to every tariff onto China yet, not yet. And you find a lot of good words being spoken. So maybe that they are also thinking of going a little soft in the Indo-Pacific on China. That is my view.
mm. So when you look at the region itself, when you see the kind of chaos which is taking place, it's not in China's interest as well. China basically lost Nepal, Bangladesh in 1 year. I mean, in terms of their industry, in terms of their contact, in terms of all that, Bangladesh at least some amount of कुछ तो वापस आया है नेपाल में तो एंटी चाइना सेंटिमेंट्स आर प्रीटी हाई राइट नाउ सो देयर इज आल्सो दैट कन्वर्जन कि भाई ये थोड़ा यार यहाँ पर we can't have the Americans going inside here all the time. How do you see that conversion as well coming across as a regional sort of a setup? Because one thing we see is India, Russia, China sitting together and telling America not acceptable for Bagram.
My sense is that as far as the South Asian neighbors are concerned, China is not too concerned at the moment. The reason
Okay.
is in Bangladesh there is a tacit understanding between the Americans and the Chinese that you do what you're doing, I'll do what I'm doing. Because America has not pushed Bangladesh to do anything which is not in the interest of Chinese, right? As you know that now China's going to sell J-10 fighter jets, 20 of them to Bangladesh. So obviously that has happened with the unwritten approval of the Americans. Americans have two interests. Of course, they knew one of the reasons for them to come to this part of the world because they found that the Chinese influence was increasing too much. And Bay of Bengal is an area where the American Navy is not present. The rest, entire Indo-Pacific, they are everywhere. So this was a worry that maybe that Chinese will get the upper hand. As you know that only day before yesterday, some Chinese ships have again entered the Cox's Bazar port. So the American interest there is twofold. One is Bangladesh, other one is Myanmar. And their sense was that China is getting a foothold, a greater foothold, greater influence in both these countries. The Chinese have been very smart as far as Myanmar is concerned. Sorry, I'm linking these two because they're very linked. The Chinese are very smart. While they are supporting the military government, the junta as they call it, or janta, and they are also arming the various insurgent groups at the same time.
Mhm.
That You take this, you keep fighting whatever you do. Don't harm my interest.
Yeah.
The economic interest of China is much bigger, as you know, from the Chapku port in Myanmar, Sitwe, the pipelines are going right up to Kunming
Kunming. Hmm.
refinery, and most of the Gulf oil is offloaded in Chapku. Now it passes through the areas where the Chins are ruling, and Chins are also opposing the military government. The and also they are the neighboring warring faction neighboring to China. They don't want that that to anything to spill out into China. So that's another reason why they're keeping them happy. And what is happening in the rest of Myanmar? The second thing is that that island, Saint Martin Island. Then nothing very big can come. It's a 5 square kilometer. That's all it is. But it is possible that they will rehabilitate some of the areas and they will make it bigger, and they will just keep a watch, because though it belongs to Bangladesh, it is also very close to Myanmar. Okay, just about few 30, 40, or 50 kilometers from Myanmar. So if they get a foothold there, then they can be little bit assured that the Chinese activity, if it starts in Bay of Bengal, they will be able to keep an eye and also try and prevent if it gets beyond land. So I would say that as I gave you example of the J-10 fighters being given, obviously the Americans have not put any stop to it. The bigger worry in Bangladesh is its collusion with Pakistan now. The Pakistanis have become very active. Munir has said we will activate India's Eastern Front if there is a war, and the Chinese are going to do up the Lal Munir Hut airfield, which is about not very far. I think it's about 125 kilometers from Chicken's Neck. And if that happens, then possibly J-10, J-20 can be stationed there, and the Bangladeshis, though they may or may not, but Pakistanis can do a proxy fighting for the Chinese at the Chicken's Neck. So we have a little bit of geopolitical turning into a tactical threat in the coming days. So China is not worried about Bangladesh. China is not worried about Myanmar. Okay, they know that what is already going on. They don't mind the Americans being there. They haven't told anything to the Chinese, to the Bangladesh, nor have they told anything to the Myanmar. So you deal with your politics. As you know, they don't have an ambassador at the moment. The Americans don't have an ambassador in Bangladesh to charge the affairs. So Nepal, I'm not sure as to what is the public uprising against China. I have not read very much about that.
No, they're turning inwards also. They don't want India, China, anybody. I mean, that's that's the
Well,
thing right now.
well, that is the possibly the interim government's approach, because otherwise they were saying that justice is pro India because she studied there, but so has everybody else, including the Communist Party people. They've all studied in India as the nearest, and language, religion, all those bonhomie exist. So hedging will continue no matter which party comes in power in Nepal. They will hedge between China and India. India is on a slightly more solid wicket because now the petrol is being supplied, diesel is being supplied through pipelines. And no sort of vehicles are going now. As you know, the pipeline is operational. Now there's a train line on which the Bande Bharat is likely to run, and one in Bhutan. So India's policy has been that neighborhood first, meaning neighborhood first. No matter what they're doing to you. Bangladesh, we have stopped nothing. In fact, in Bangladesh, the electricity power companies owed about $700 million to Mr. Adani. And he wanted that money, otherwise he would have cut off the power. A private company. He was told by government, just take it easy. They are not in a good shape. Once they improve and economy improves, then you can get on. And right now, I would say that for any of these countries to go whole hog against India, it'll be difficult because you can really choke their living. They know it. They also know it. Their The army chief has made a statement in Bangladesh that India is our closest partner, neighbor. Without India's help, doing anything in Bangladesh is not possible. Other people are far off. India is next door. But the problem there is not the army. The problem is the Yusuf Khan and his team. Now they have declared that the election will take place in February, but I would like to reserve my comments on that till the election happens. So that's my thought. In Nepal, the election will happen
Yeah, that will happen.
because,
So,
all said and done, uh, the present officiating prime minister, she made a statement during her talks with the press that she has a lot of respect for Prime Minister Modi, and India is a very helpful country. Just she hasn't said same thing about China.
mm,
So possibly, there is change of thinking, but moment an elected government comes, uh, if it is not an absolute majority of a particular party and it is a coalition government, you can assume that this hedging will not stop. That's the normal international relation formula that there are two big countries in neighborhood. The smaller countries will hedge depending upon where do they find their countries getting benefit. There is no really big deal about it. They will happen. We
mm.
will continue doing supporting. Same thing happened in Maldives. India would campaign. India said fine. They continued giving everything till one fine morning Moizu decided to come and pay his respect to Prime Minister Modi. Why? Because they had not renewed the contract of vegetables and oil and things like that. So all the resorts on which the economy survives, they were shut down because there's no vegetables, there's no rice. So suddenly phone call came and our external affairs minister said, "You haven't renewed. We have called you. You haven't come. Come and renew the contract. Agreement has to be renewed." So somebody came rushing. Their CDF came, Chief of Defence Force, and their foreign minister came, and they all came and renewed all that, and they paid a lot of compliments and everything to government of India. Government of India said, we haven't stopped you. We haven't stopped any of your projects. You are the one who's, you know. Then the president realized that it's you can't, हिंदी में बोलते हैं पानी में रह के मगरमच्छ से बैर नहीं कर सकते आप. If you live in water, you can't have animosity with the crocodiles or tortoise, whatever it's called. Turtles, no, crocodiles. So this is what I have roughly about the question that you asked. I'm sorry I have diverged because they are all
Not at all.
they are interlinked. The
Yeah.
India's neighborhood when you see, you have to see it in the overall perspective. No neighbor is your friend at the moment, possibly except for Bhutan. But they are also under a lot of pressure from the China. Part of their green areas in the north, they say that historically it is ours, but they have not given them anything. They're discussing with
वो तो
India.
वो तो चाइना का तो शौक है सर और कुछ नहीं.
So
Yeah.
that is why they have Chinese have also realized that keeping India sort of requirements met, it also helps their own economy, which is unfortunately is not doing too well. I just returned from China on 24th last month. Was there for about 10 days. And there is a bit of concern. That time, the even President Xi Jinping's own position was little shaky because of the what was happening. The military was CMC was not very convinced that he can run. Who's in tower still calls a lot of shot. The previous president. But apparently, there has been some accommodation now. I believe that is the last 2 3 days what I've been hearing from the Chinese friends. There has been some accommodation where some of the powers of Xi Jinping he has agreed to sort of part with these powers to various people, and now that's why you'll find that he's saying that he will put it to his ministry, he will put it to his cabinet, he will take. He's not saying that it is my decision now anymore. So there is uh, some internal, you know,
Seems like it, sir. Something is happening there.
enjoyment is going on. Looks like, but China very difficult to say. But what I can figure out that there is some coexistence who's in Tao's team and President Xi Jinping's team.
Hmm. So, lastly, I want to ask you about, how do you think India China is going to go forward in terms of, see, there can never be that full trust rebuilding between two nations, two normal nations, till the time the border is delimited and this and that. There are some people who say कुछ बातें चल रही हैं यार, something is happening, let it happen. फिर देखेंगे. Uh, China probably has realized, learnt a bad lesson in Pakistan with the sudden switch to Asim Munir. Whatever said on the American inroad that these guys got would have given quite a jerk to them, considering China literally fought with them in Operation Sindoor. Uh, so, how do you see this balance going forward, sir?
See, Mullah Munir is playing diplomacy very well. He's telling both the countries that I will not hurt your interests.
So that is
Yeah.
suicidal.
Chinese have been told that your interest in Gwadar will not be hurt just because the Americans are going to dig rare earth from Balochistan, which the Balochis have opposed. And the
Chinese are
reason
there,
why,
sir. Decodic में Chinese बैठे हैं.
yeah, there are separation points. Now that is one of the reasons why Pasni has been offered to the Americans.
Yeah.
From Pasni, there will be a railway track laid to these mines, so that once it is extracted, it will come to Pasni port from where the Americans will take it by ships. So that is the arrangement. That is why the deep sea port that they're talking about. We will see when it comes because making deep sea port in Pasni may not be all that easy. We know that the water siltation is pretty high. Anyway, but and they have told the Chinese, your interest will not be hurt. You tell me what is your worry. We'll make sure that doesn't happen. So for the time being, Chinese have, I mean, they haven't bought this argument, but they said, okay, we'll see. Because the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, BRI, uh, CPEC is in grief, as you know, because the developments have not taken place as per the expectation of the Chinese. And some of these projects related to the CPEC, like power stations, etc., and some more places that has been put to stop. There's no more funding. So the CPEC fallout is still being repaired between two countries.
Mhm.
And now that it has happened, so you are right in your assessment that the Chinese are obviously a bit pissed off, no doubt about that. But apparently, they have been assured that nothing will happen to your interest. Now, how much China is going to rely because whatever commitments has the Pakistan government given as far as CPEC is concerned, that has not been met by the Pakis. Chinese are very upset about that. One of the while I was still there, one of the fact finding mission went from a university under the guise of think tank. But in that think tank, there are 2 3 card holders of the Communist Party. They also go. They're also professors, so they go and So they had been to Islamabad, they had been to Nepal, and in between the demonstration in Pak-occupied Kashmir and multiple noise from the Gilgit-Baltistan area that they want to be independent, join India. So that is again a little bit of worry. Then TTP, yesterday TTP targets have been attacked near Kabul by Pakistani Air Force.
Failed,
That's
sir.
happened last night.
Entire
Yeah,
thing failed.
yeah. So
They've hit a market of sorts.
yeah, so now that has upset the Afghans quite a lot because they say that you have bloody penetrated my sovereignty, it's my
Yeah.
airspace. How did you come into it? So that fight is going on, and one of the reasons why the foreign minister is here, one of the reasons is this, that how do they handle the Pakistan? So the sorry, that that strategic depth, what Pakistan has been looking for, is not there anymore. It might become strategic depth for India if the Afghans say that okay, you come to man the Wakhan corridor. What happens? Wakhan corridor is sitting right on top of Pakistan and China both. It's a very narrow corridor. Right now, there is a Chinese battalion there, but they can be asked to go by the Afghans anytime. Which, in case they agree to ask Indians to man that place, India will ask for the removal of the Chinese. They should. So it's a very interesting time, Mariji, and South Asia politics, not so much driven by South Asia, but driven by world's two most powerful countries who are fighting amongst themselves. The
Yeah.
contestation for great power rivalry is all panning out in South Asia and the adjoining waters of Indo-Pacific.
Mm.
There's no third country in this. Mind you, third countries are only on the receiving end, how to minimize the damage of these two countries. And that is
Yeah.
what we are all doing. But India's motto is very clear. By 2028, we have to be the third largest economy of the world. And even with this growth rate, and if the trade from China improves, if the tariff war with America sort of subsides, which it looks like, the India is right on its path. Even now, I think RBI and the all economists of India have said, even if the tariff is put, the GDP will get impacted by 1%. But 1% GDP is quite a lot, which will be made up because as far as pharma is concerned, the day America declared the tax on tariff on pharma, China said, I remove all tariffs on pharma from India. And mind you, they said, we will take everything that you're giving to America. They have made this statement. Their foreign office has made this statement. So now India has a buyer in China. I mean, see what is happening. Was it possible in 2020? 2020 was not possible. It was not possible till about a year back. But now both countries have realized that look, for your China also wants to become number one. Mind you, China, India, Japan put together are still less than GDP of America. So it's not going to be very easy. That will take long time. That might get 2030, 40 or whatever. China also realizes this, that without taking the market of 1.4 billion people in India, as you see, the BYD cars are selling in India now. The Chinese car is not built here. It is built, it is assembled here. And notwithstanding the tax, they are selling at prices which are less than the Indian EVs.
Mm.
They are filling up. I don't know how is it in Pune, but here in Delhi, the BYD is all over. and that will hit the Indian manufacturer. Tatas are the leaders in EV now, but then they have already captured the market. They will take a long time. The Chinese will take a long time because the cheapest EV in India is 9.99 lakhs.
अभी बोल रहे हैं वो तो सेम हो जाएगा सर, it'll be the same as a petrol car now very soon.
या हो गया ऑलरेडी 10 लाख का नेक्सन ईवी जो है इट इज 10 lakhs. वो तो छोड़ो दे बड़ी नैनो हाइब्रिड which will cost only 3-4 lakhs. That is already on being launched in a few days. Hybrid technology. So, of course, what is happening on the roads is a nightmare. Actually, it is time to really stop, make some limit on how many cars can be bought by people. People are having 4 cars, 5 cars. Can you imagine? I mean, how much money people have. So I think that you have a point as far as the Chinese, Nepal, Bangladesh is concerned. But I feel that this is a competition between China and America, and we may only be a cog in the wheel. And it always helps while these two people are fighting, we will benefit. India will benefit positively. That's my sense. I'm not an economist, but whatever little I read in the newspapers here, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, they all people are saying that ultimately India will be a big beneficiary in the fight of China and US. That is why they're telling the American president that don't be daft, don't be foolish to do all this. You're taking America downwards, and but anyway, there are some soothsayers who have said it apparently 60, 70 years back that America will not remain in the present form. When a president comes whose name sounds like trumpet, said
That is
70, 80.
also, yeah, there are legends about this. A lot of people have started talking about it now that this
Yeah,
will be
now
the
that
last president of
now
America.
that there's the decline. Yeah. But Americans are worried.
Yeah, yeah, that's there, sir.
Average American, not average, मतलब पढ़े लिखे Americans जो है ना, like we had a team of journalists who came. I had a long conversation with Walter Mead, and he was saying, Admiral, this is not the America that we dream for. Though nothing will happen for next 4 or 5 years, but the damage this guy is doing to America-India relations, we are all here basically to assure the Prime Minister that, my own sense is that by doing what he is doing, President, he has given in writing to big companies, Google, Microsoft, etc., that don't employ Indians. Now you can have a difference of opinion with India. As long as it is India US, we can handle it. But if you make it Indian, then those cannot be repaired for a very long time. Don't allow Indians to come. There will be only 5% in every university, though Indians can be taken in. Now that is hurting the universities because they were the money making. So these things have a longer term damage. Once the Indians decide, like Indians decided that China is an enemy, China can do anything. As you said, you can't build trust. Not only government, people can't build trust.
It's very difficult, sir. Mm.
And Indian population, Indians by and large are politically more aware. हमारी जागरूकता जो है ना, it is much more than people in China and certainly much more than an average American.
Oh yes, sir. That I agree. Mm.
Whenever you go there and you talk to an average person, they don't know about the world. They don't know what's happening. But you go to a street in Pune street, ask him what is happening, he बताएगा तुमको क्या हो रहा है अमेरिका के साथ, क्या हो रहा है चाइना के साथ. So that means that it impacts the public life here, and that speaks very highly of our democracy and transparency. That what the government says, it does, and what people say, The governments reflect it truly to other country in their foreign policy.
Mm.
I had written an article long back that now Indian foreign policy is indigenized. I had written almost 2 3 years ago, indigenization of the Indian foreign policy, and I can see that happening. So I think overall this is where it is. India America relations will be very hard to repair because from Trump and Modi it is coming to Indian and American, which is bad. You can have whatever you have, political differences will happen. Two different countries, two different parties, two different themes. But you have a convergence on many issues. You cannot deny that. We have value system. So are the Americans. You have a common interest as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, on which there is no compromise by America.
Yeah.
This is one place that in the contest you are still ahead. And you are ahead because you got these partners. You got India and the Indian Ocean. You got this Japanese, small country, but capable, lot of money. Australians, not as capable. Our Honorable Raksha Mantri is there right now. It's only going to strengthen the Indo Pacific issue, even if the Americans are not there. But seeing what Marco Rubio has just said, that Indo Pacific is not going to change. There we are going to remain. My also sense is, I may be speaking out of turn, that I have not written, I'm about to write an article on that, that now the competition of China and US, which was earlier limited to seas, oceans, possibly the Americans have realized that the China is getting better off. But what they are more worried is that China might get better off in the Eurasian landmass. With the BRI project and Russia becoming their friend, and Iran hostile to these people and Iran becoming their friend in this group, and India, not tilting to any side. And now they have come to Pakistan, they want Bagram. Why? Does it mean that now their attention is coming back to the Eurasian landmass? And from following at one time of, the theory of Alfred Mahan, that seas are all powerful, they are going back to Macinder's Eurasian heartland superiority after 100 years. Because they realize that if they don't, the Chinese and Russian will take over this entire Eurasian landmass. And that is why the Americans are so keen that they should come back here. I mean, this is my thinking. I may be wrong, but when I do this analysis, why are they going? I've been asking this question in my head. Why are the Americans want Bagram? They are already in Pakistan. Pakistan has
They
given them
want that
even
oil pipeline, na, sir, from Tajikistan, gas pipeline.
from
Tajikistan, they want to pull that pipeline, na, Ashgabat se. They want to
who?
pull that, the Americans from
Ah,
Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, that old gas plan that they had.
yeah, yeah.
They want that.
See, so basically, the attention is now shifting to the Eurasian. These are all
Yeah,
Eurasian
yeah,
landmarks.
yeah, yeah.
Central Asia. Then you go to Turkey. Turkey is a NATO partner, but not really an American partner. And you got this Latvia, Estonia, these Balkan countries. Then you got these small countries, the ones which are on the either side of Caspian Sea. Uh, all of them are, this is a anti-American axis, and that is why American presence in Afghanistan and Pakistan is the only two places where they can stay. But the Afghans are not very happy. They're not willing to give Bagram. Let's see what happens. That is why they have offered, the Pakistanis have offered, okay, don't worry, Bagram, you take Nur Khan airfield. Nur Khan, in any case, is run by the Americans. So my sense is that, if there is somebody in American administration thinking hard, it must be the deep state. The deep state has realized that It is time, and they only give small inputs to the administration. Come on, ask for Bagram for whatever reason. You know, the actual planning is being done by the deep state, which is headed by thought leaders like Obama and Clinton and people like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's my gut feeling that gradually America could be, because of the increasing influence of the Chinese in the Eurasian landmass, and Russia and Iran being their friends. This is a very solid reason for me to believe that, you know, something like this could happen. These things take years to fructify. It took one Second World War to the Americans to prove that yes, the oceans are more important than controlling the land mass of Eurasia. Because they thought, Russia is not very powerful, but now China and Russia combined is going to give them run for money. And they feel that, okay, the Russian army is a tested army, the Chinese army is not. So there is still a possibility of American troops being there. Not that the American troops are fighting many wars, they don't have much stomach, but still, I would think that this could be a possibility. I will write, let's see, generate some discussion, what happens. So I've given you the whole world's overview now.
Let's see, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, that was an interesting conversation. Thank you so much. As always, pleasure talking to you.
Thank you,
And
Adiji. Send me the link when you put it on tube.
I'll do that, sir. Thank you so much. To the audience, please put in your comments and don't forget to support the platform. Namaskar. Jai Hind. Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind.